The fourth commandment stands out among the 10 commandments. It is a direct command from God to remember and keep holy the seventh day of the week, which is Saturday. This commandment is not a suggestion, it is a divine law written by the finger of God on tablets of stone. The Sabbath is a sacred time set aside for rest, worship, and fellowship with the Creator. The Sabbath commandment is unique because it points back to God's work of creation. It reminds us that He is the creator of heaven and earth. God rested on the seventh day after finishing His work of creation. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy. By observing the Sabbath, we acknowledge God as our Creator and Redeemer. We show our love and loyalty to Him by obeying His commandments. The Sabbath is a special sign between God and His people, a reminder of His covenant relationship with us. It is a day to be cherished and honored. The Bible clearly states that the seventh day of the week is the Sabbath. This truth is woven throughout Scripture. From Genesis to Revelation, the seventh-day Sabbath is consistently upheld as a day of rest and worship. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 to 3, we read that God rested on the seventh day after creation. He then blessed the seventh day and made it holy. The seventh-day Sabbath was not merely a Jewish institution, it was ordained at the creation of the world for all mankind. The Bible tells us that God gave the Sabbath to Adam, the father of the entire human race. The Sabbath is a universal blessing designed for all people, regardless of their nationality or background. The children of Israel were commanded to keep the Sabbath holy as a sign of their covenant with God. They were to remember their deliverance from slavery in Egypt and their dependence on the Lord. The Sabbath was a weekly reminder of God's goodness, faithfulness, and power. And Satan, God's adversary, hates the Sabbath. He knows that the Sabbath is a special sign of God's authority and love. Satan has always sought to undermine God's law and lead people away from Him. One of his primary targets is the Sabbath commandment. Satan uses subtle deception to turn people away from the Sabbath. He promotes alternative days of worship and encourages disregard for God's commandments. He tries to make the Sabbath appear burdensome and irrelevant to modern life. Many people today have been deceived into believing that the Sabbath is no longer binding. They argue that it was merely a ceremonial law that was abolished with the coming of Christ. However, the Bible clearly teaches that the 10 commandments, including the Sabbath, are eternal and unchanging. Jesus Himself declared, "Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy but to fulfill." Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Section 4. Sunday observance, a claim without scriptural foundation. Some Christians claim that Sunday observance is based on Christ's resurrection. However, there is no biblical command to transfer the sanctity of the Sabbath to the first day of the week. The Bible does not support the idea that Sunday should be observed as the new Sabbath. The New Testament records that Jesus and His disciples observed the seventh-day Sabbath. They attended synagogue services on the Sabbath and taught in the temple. There is no evidence that they ever regarded Sunday as a holy day or a substitute for the Sabbath. The early Christians continued to observe the seventh-day Sabbath after Christ's resurrection. They met together on the first day of the week for fellowship and to commemorate the resurrection, but they still recognized the Sabbath as the day ordained by God for rest and worship. Section 5. The rise of Sunday, a historical perspective. The shift from Saturday to Sunday as the day of worship did not occur overnight. It was a gradual process that took place over several centuries. This change was driven by a combination of factors, including the influence of pagan sun worship, the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, and a desire to distance Christianity from its Jewish roots. In the early centuries of the Christian era, the Roman Empire was a pagan society. Sun worship was a prominent feature of Roman religion. The first day of the week, Sunday, was dedicated to the sun god. As Christianity spread throughout the empire, it faced increasing pressure to conform to Roman customs and beliefs. Some Christian leaders, seeking to make Christianity more appealing to the Roman world, began to downplay the importance of the Sabbath and to emphasize Sunday as a day of celebration. They argued that Sunday, as the day of Christ's resurrection, was a more appropriate day for Christian worship.